Good morning and welcome to today's webinar, Steering IT Through Constant Change, Introduction to Rolling Planning. Well, Vincent, if you might share your screen, I could start with a housekeeping. Perfect. So, your audio will be muted and your camera is disabled during the entire webinar. So if you have any question, please feel free to enter it in the Q&A part. And later, when we get to the Q&A session, we will get into the questions, of course. And if you want, you can raise your hand, and then we activate your audio and your camera, and we can get into interaction. So, but that's optionally, of course. Well, the webinar will be recorded and you'll get it afterwards together with the slides. Right. So today's webinar, as the name says, deals with one of our core topics, the rolling planning. And this is, if you just go back, Vincent, because it's, the first part of two webinars. So today is about the what and why, and next Friday at the same time, we will talk about the how. So how does an introduction of rolling planning into your organization look like? So what's the impact and so on. So actually this is the topic rolling planning. This is the most common use case we implement with our platform B360. So I'm very pleased that there is a white paper written by Deloitte, and it's not published yet, but I was very lucky to already have a look at, and so actually that's the reason why we decided to invite the authors to present you the concepts and the idea behind to have somehow a sneak preview of the topic. Well, those of you who already know us might wonder, so B360 is a full service provider. So we have SaaS and the guidance to implement rolling planning. So why a partner? Well, we at B360, we are highly specialized in the standardized implementation of an effective steering of organizations with an annual spend of 20 to 200 million euros. So we are the experts in this area, and we do this hand in hand with the CIOs and the digital leaders of the client's organization. And that allows us to really achieve a rapid transformation of the organization in a very, very short time. This is precisely our daily business. Outside of these company sizes, it is often necessary to proceed slightly different. So, and that is on the other side where our partners' expertise comes in. It makes perfect sense to choose or develop a more individual approach together for these organizations. Regardless of the company size, however, it may also be required to get additional people into the project or specific roles like operational functions, or of course at the end support in the change after the implementation, which is very important and can't be high enough in the priority to really apply the steering model into the organization. So, but now to the reference. I'm Philip. I'm member of the executive board at B360. Today I'm your moderator, and well, I think real change is based on trust. And I make sure that you feel it right from the start. So that's my priority. And now I'm handing over to Vincent to get his priorities.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Philip, for the nice and kind introduction. My name is Vincent. My job in our rolling planning introduction project is usually to keep them on track, because once we start introducing rolling planning and we have this holistic B360 platform, there are usually a lot of wishes that are added to the wish list. Can't we do a little more demand management? Can't we do a little more strategy alignment? What is with your enterprise architecture management? And I'm really there in the project to say, hey, let's focus. We've got a job to do here. We want to get this transparency over your cost, over your resources. We want to enable you to react as quickly as you can, and to really empower the people in your organization to contribute with their knowledge to a better outcome. And well, this is what I do in the projects. And yeah, I'm happy to hand over to Christoph now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vincent and Philip. Welcome to the round also from my side. My name is Christoph Nelson. I'm a senior manager at Deloitte in the risk advisory division at the Hamburg office. As someone who originally came from a classic IT background with almost 8 years of experience at various service providers, I now have been working in consulting for a little more over than 15 years. And my focus areas in this is financial management, portfolio management, and in particular also sourcing advisory. And that's also where my first contact with B came from, namely back in 2013 already, when I was preparing a sourcing strategy at one of my clients and at that time, and they were providing all the overviews I needed from B. Yeah, and I thought, okay, I haven't seen anything like this in terms of quality and speed either. So at that point already, my curiosity was aroused, and today I'm really happy to have stayed in touch with the B colleagues over time, to the point now of becoming partners, because I really think that our skills, so the skills of our companies, really complement each other wonderfully. So I'm really looking forward to this session with you, and I will hand back over to Philip once more.
Thank you. Same here. So, what is today's agenda? We already had the introduction of ourselves. So we at the next point we directly dive into the topic. What's the story of it? So how does it look like? And then after we get into the concepts.
Now we have our expert Christoph, who will present the big picture behind rolling planning. What's the idea? We have there a nice analogy with modern navigation systems before he really jumps into the essence and the success factors of rolling planning for a success in digital transformation. Once the theory is understood and really understood why it's useful to do so, I will take over and show you how we bring this into life in our platform B360 before all of you will have the chance to raise your question and ask anything you want us to ask. You can also, during the presentation, write down your comments in the chat. They will be collected. It will be anonymous, so don't be afraid. Don't hesitate to ask us whatever you want to know. And at the end, then of course we will give you a glimpse of what we do in the second session. So then, Christoph, I'm very happy to hand over to you.
Yes, thanks. So yeah, we invited you to the topic steering IT through constant change. Yeah. And if steering or navigation is the core topic, then let's maybe really start by talking about exactly this. Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Which one of you still misses the good old folding map? The nightmare of the front passenger, as I call it. Yeah. When it comes to car navigation, we have experienced rapid technology progress, and that is a thing that we do not want to miss out in the boat. Yeah. And in this project, and this progress can be categorized into 3 phases. And we have shown this on the slide. So on the left-hand side, we have the good old fold-out maps. So they used to come out once a year. Too often had the wrong scale. The destination was, if at all, on the map, always just behind the kink on the other side. Yeah, and we needed to cope with that for a really long time. Yeah. And then came the first real revolution, a permanently installed sat-nav. Wow, yeah. So much more map material at once, all of Europe and updatable, automatic search and destination entry, zoom levels. You thought it really couldn't get any better. And today, with our smartphones, we almost smile at this revolution because now we have so many more options here. Real-time data for traffic reports, sites along the route, the quick wins, as you will, yeah? Immediate routing alternative in case of traffic jams, and we can even report back if there was no traffic jam at all, but only outdated information. So why am I telling you this? Yeah, and I mean it becomes clear if you look at the next slide, because we we really like this kind of analogy. Yeah, because we feel that looking to what we have in other places, we feel that we are miles behind in steering organizations compared to this. Yeah. And perhaps that's also why it annoys us so much, the feeling there must be another way, and there is another way. I assume at least the impatient of us feel this way. Yeah, and of course there are always good reasons why steering maybe is lagging behind in the IT departments. So our daily grind, the treadmill, yeah, that eats up our time while we are not careful using the time wisely. Then for sure other priorities and urgent demands from business as they come flying in. Yeah? And simply just getting used to accepting an inadequate situation. Because I mean, in the end, it somehow works. We have SAP, we have our reports, we have Excel, and yeah, maybe we have manual effort. But if you want to start here and to build something faster and more flexible, and if you approach it the wrong way, the organization will quickly die of heat stroke because you have overburdened employees and simply too much effort to cope with. Yeah. So you can see the goal on the right-hand side. That's where you want to go, but the hurdles seem impassable for you. And in this webinar series, we want to show you why this goal is worthwhile in the first place and how you can clearly achieve it, especially with the right approach and the right tooling. Yeah. And with that, let's start into the topic because it's really, really interesting to see what possibilities we have here. Yeah. So we don't just steer because we enjoy driving, but primarily because we want to arrive quickly and safely at a given destination. IT, let's not forget this. IT, let's set the pace for digitization and has a corresponding mandate to fulfill. But financial control is an essential success factor in this regard. And with this in mind, we are looking to this topic today. To get started, we have identified 7 areas of action that together form, I would say, the craftsmanship of financial steering, rather like in a car. So route planning, traffic routes, gas, brake, indicators, refueling, oil temperature. So everything you need to know to really safely arrive at and in time arrive at your destination. Let's maybe start with the first topic, which is the position. For sure, it's a basic requirement for all control. Yeah, you need to know your position. You need to have good maps and a clear windscreen to see what's coming up. Yeah. Second part would be strategy. The question is, in which direction do we want to move? What goals do we want to achieve? So where do we want to go? Yeah. Then we have our financial processes. How and when do I plan? Who plans with me? And with which tools do I plan and navigate? Yeah. Then we have the business demands flying in. So what orders are coming in? What do I work on and when? And what do I dismiss? Yeah. So what do I neglect? Don't do this. Yeah. Then we have the finances, yeah, and that is the core topic. Yeah. So where do I need to invest? What can I afford? Where can I save? Yeah. But it's not only financials, but it's also resources. And resources, the question is, how do I deploy my teams? How do I avoid overloading them while still increasing throughput? Yeah. And in the end, people. So communication. Yeah. How do we work in this distributed way and yet together? So what keeps it all together? Yeah. So we will deal with these fields of action in more detail on the following slide, because we think they are a good way of demonstrating the changes that take place when rolling planning is introduced and showing the added value that this brings to your organization. But ultimately, however, it is not about these individual disciplines, but about becoming more efficient and delivering added value as an organization by mastering and integrating these disciplines. Yeah. So let's start with the first discipline, which is positioning transparency. Yeah, we will briefly go through all of those. Yeah, for you to get a sense of what will change with the introduction of the rolling planning approach and what are added values, what added values will result from it. Yeah, the following slides are always structured the same way as this. Yeah, on the left-hand side, we have compiled typical voices that we are often hearing in organizations before we actually start our work. Of course, it sometimes or always depends on the level of maturity of an organization and how much it has already dealt with modern control options. But in my experience, it gives a good initial overview of the respective situation at the start. In the middle, we have always summarized the way in which B360 as a technical solution and Deloitte as an organizational coach can bring really positive changes in this field of action. And on the right-hand side, we'll see the results, so the added value by taking some, for us, important aspects and really presenting the desired target state for them. Yeah. So starting with this field of action, position and transparency, the motto often is start small, do good, create enthusiasm, and find followers. What do I mean with this? So start small. We really like to have a manageable scope at the start. Then we have a look to who's working on this, what is the daily life of the persons, how can we simplify the life, how can we reduce the effort, how can we increase the effectiveness. So that is do good. Then create enthusiasm. That comes automatically if the persons involved see there is value for them behind, yeah, and they get enthusiastic. We need fans, yeah. So we are looking for fans, yeah. Fans are our best multipliers, and fans get followers, yeah. And that is what we want to, in the end, achieve, to really get things moving, yeah, with the kind of enthusiasm that we now have a solution that is working and really brings a paradigm shift of how we do things, yeah. So not all at once, but step by step in a clear direction. Okay, so next field of action, yeah, would be strategy. So this is primarily concerned with achieving a direct connect from the strategy to the portfolios. And the focus is especially on the project portfolio, which can be aligned via strategic initiatives and thus can be steered, yeah, and can also be shown compared to the strategy, what is the strategic conformity of the portfolio. And this is important because it means that we can, A, measure the achievement of the strategic goals, yeah, and B, we are able to take changes, yeah, also to the planning when changes of priorities for the strategy coming in, yeah, we can directly react and we can directly distribute or redistribute funds and resources to other topics. Yeah, so it's a clear input parameter, and it's also a clear way of steering what we are doing. Yeah. Okay, so then next field of action, yeah, would be all about the processes and tools and templates that we are bringing to the table. So simply pointing out the need for change in the previous planning process and justifying is not enough really to spark the will to change. What we need is real enthusiasm, and that's what I outlined already. Yeah? So B360, looking to the solution. So B360 already contains decades of really tried and tested structural elements, workflows, approval processes that cover all financial planning tasks. The IT plans, and that's really, I think, a nice asset. The IT plans in familiar terms on familiar elements. And the robustness of this technical solution, covered with the experience and expertise of how human change takes place in organization, ensures a high level of acceptance and genuine enthusiasm, which are the main ingredients for successful transformation. Okay, so let's move on. Priorities, business requirements. So stop. Why are we talking about business demand in the first place? We have to take a closer look at this because of the three questions. What do I have to do? What do I want to do? And what do I leave alone? Those three questions are really crucial to the success of IT's digitization mandate. At the core of this discipline is the question of the production of a fast decision per demand. That's what we are striving for. To do this, we need to know, for example, which strategic initiative the demand contributes to, which is the added value. What risks would it avoid? What does it cost me? How much effort does it produce? And for which resources? And how long does it take to process? As soon as the planning for the demand in B on these elements is updated, it can be prioritized and it is ready for decision. And the interesting fact is, it is always there, or it's already there. If you take the decision on an organizational level, then the planned resources are allocated, the costs are allocated, so everything is there. So that is really the essence also of rolling planning. You do this once, and everything is activated. All right, let's move on. And that is, for me, it is the core of all we are doing, the jointly based planning. We use our collective intelligence, or the collective intelligence of the company, to let those who can do it best anyway do the planning directly and permanently. The experts for their respective topics. And by the way, they are already doing this just on their own island with their own list currently. And unfortunately, sometimes twice or three times over, depending on who is asking. If only the organization knew what the organization knows. We are trying to achieve exactly this, a knowing organization. And the trick is quite simple. Everyone plans what they see for the period of time they can estimate at the moment they become aware of it. And that is the essence of the rolling planning. And this may come as a surprise to planners, especially in the beginning. They often ask again, can I really change that now? And is this visible then for everyone directly? Then we talk briefly about planning states and approval processes. And then the first one dares to start. Where it used to be the numbers are wrong, it's now the numbers are wrong. I just change it because I have the new information. And incidentally, we use this mechanism to quickly overcome the typical initial hurdles of incomplete or outdated planned data, simply because suddenly it becomes relevant for those who do it that the numbers are correct, because it helps them manage the area and answer always the same questions. All right, so then let's move on. When we talk about financial planning, for sure we talk about cost. But we also talk about the resources. And Vincent, you need to go one step back. I'm trying to speed up, but we need to take our time for resources. Because the resources play always a role, but usually not as an important role as they need to play. The question of how I deploy my employees and how much capacity is still available for implementing topics often cannot be answered sufficiently. Service operation usually already ties up the largest share of resources. The remaining capacity significantly less than we would really need for the most pressing demands. So can I make adjustments with external resources, or are there insufficient funds for this too? Can I stop working on certain topics and do other projects instead? Those questions need to be answered. Incidentally, the all-important key figure for high-performance resourcing for us is not 100% target capacity utilized, but throughput. So how can I manage to really implement as many requirements as possible in the shortest possible way with my limited resources? Yeah. So, and now you can switch the slide because we are at the last field of action, and I really cannot stress the importance of this. Yeah, we are at communications, cooperation, so people. Yeah, at the center of our actions are people, and in their respective roles, with their individual requirements, concerns, needs, and desires. We support such implementations with a proven approach to human change, and that starts where it is easiest for us with the added value of this respective role. Yeah, we often quickly find so recurring tasks in their everyday work to start with, yeah, and once the person see the added value and understand it, it is really also to change their behavior, yeah. And that is what we really need. Yeah. So when they see value, yeah, we have gained fans, and fans become followers, and that's what we want to do. Yeah. That's where we want to go. Okay, so let's briefly sum up. Yeah, what we've learned in this part. I hope I have shown and also pointed out some interesting aspects for you, yeah, to take with, yeah, before we having a deeper look into the tool, yeah. That's what we have planned to do now. So I will hand over to Vincent, yeah, to really start the use case demo on some aspects of what we have learned, hopefully. So Vincent.
Well, thank you very much for this brief introduction. I think everybody understood now at least why it's worthy to implement rolling planning. But the question that arises is, I mean, it's a nice concept on the paper, but is this really something that can work in practice, or is this just a paper tiger? And of course, the answer is yes, because otherwise we wouldn't be sitting here. But while next week we're going to clearly show you how we introduce rolling planning in a smooth way, today I want to show you how we bring this concept into life in the platform, because this is crucial, because we need the people in your organization to use the platform so that we can benefit from the knowledge of the masses, so that we can really have high acceptance rates and really live in the tool. So in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to give you a brief look at how rolling planning can benefit a service owner, an initiative owner. Maybe you know the term program manager. It basically means that you're responsible to implement one part of the strategy. And last but not least, the CIO. So in order to speak of the service owner, for the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to massively reduce his responsibilities. Otherwise, he would be sitting here for days. I hope that's okay. So our service owners, he has three main responsibilities. He wants to make sure that he has enough available capacity to run his applications. He needs to make sure that he has enough financial resources, and if there's any critical operational issues, he wants, of course, to be aware of and see if he needs to escalate it or not. Right? So I'm going now to start in PowerPoint to give you a first look and feel of the dashboards I will later use, and then I jump right into the platform. So in this scenario, we are the service owner of the SAP Basic Operations Service, which what you can see here down on the left, contains certain application. And we have this traffic light kind of scheme where green services are running, yellow services are under evaluation, and red applications, pardon me, are in the phase out. And what I like you to focus is that in this scenario, we're going to phase out the SAP HCM service by SAP SuccessFactors. Okay, so we've got all the applications, and of course, they need to be run by someone. So this is why at the beginning of the year, I estimated maybe that I need 630 people days. And here in the middle, I can have a quick look whether or whether or not my team is understaffed, overbooked, or just perfectly loaded. Here now on top on the right, we have an indication of if there are any open tickets from the customer. And if we click on that, we would see the priority of those tickets. And if there's a critical ticket with a critical priority, I might want to jump deeper into it. And therefore, we have an interface to the ITSM tool. Now, the final part are the costs or the expenditures. So here on top, in the middle, we have the external expenditures for licenses, for external consulting, for maintenance, and so on and so on. And right from it, we have the total spend, which includes our costs for internal labor, of course. So yeah, here down on the left, as under historical spend development, we see the internal spend in red, the external spend in blue, and the sum of it in green. To be honest, services application, those costs are usually pretty stable, pretty foreseeable. So there's not much party going on here. Of course, in projects, the development might be way more dynamic. Okay, but I promised you B360 is not a dashboard. It's a platform that needs to be brought to life. And this is where I am going to jump over now, hopefully. Okay, so here we are on the dashboard. It's exactly the same dashboard. I just took the screenshots this morning, so it should be fine. And in this scenario, we said we're going to replace SAP HCM by SAP SuccessFactors. And maybe even this year, I wanna have a first look. And this is why I might want to plan for additional licenses. So what I do is I click here and I select the right spend type. The spend types I synchronize with the SAP system in the background. I choose cloud services. The supplier, of course, will be SAP. And the description, I add here additional licenses. Okay, so for this year, we are in December. To be honest, I just assume it's 5,000 euros, or because we are smart, we purchase them in the US because we might get better prices there. But what you see here is where traditional planning stops, maybe at the boundary of a year. Rolling planning means that we plan as long as we can foresee in the future. And this table will be at least running for 2 or 3 years. And this is why I add here another expenditures for the next 2 or 3 years, where I say, okay, this number might be appropriate. And as soon as I have better additional information, I can just quickly change it here. I apply this by saving it. And I'm not sure if some of you took notice, we were at 790,000. Now the 4,000 and something euros for the rest of the year are included. And this is now only valid in this scenario. So the service owner can use this information to simulate, to ask, hey, what happens when? But if he really wants this data to live and be valid within the entire organization, he requests approval, the supervisor sees it, approves it, and then you would find this update everywhere. So we are really far away from this Excel silos anywhere where you do make changes and nobody notices, and maybe they get the Excel later and the information is already outdated. So this is here a platform with living information. Okay, back to my presentation. Just gonna adjust here my, yeah, back to the presentation. So I had some key questions I wanted to answer. Do I have enough capacities? I planned with 630 people day. My team wasn't overstaffed, so everything looked fine. It's nice. Do I have sufficient financial resources? Well, at least I planned for the additional licenses I need, and I'm pretty sure that I will get the money for that. Are there any critical operational incidents? There was one, and how do possible reactions affect the budget? I could very quickly and clearly see how a spend, how a raise in expenditures would, what this would make for my budget for this year or for the following years. Okay, so now let's move on to the initiative owner. Here I want to know on what kind, on which part of the strategies do my activities, to which strategies do my activities contribute to? I want to know, am I within my budgets? Do I maybe still have room to implement further demands? Or again, here, are there any relevant risks that I should be aware of? So now we switch the view. We've been in the service dashboard. Now we have a look on the portfolio, but this is the portfolio of the entire IT organization. So we drill into our initiatives. There we can see all the strategies that the company agreed to implement. And in our case, we will have a look at the provide secure IT landscape strategy, because we are responsible for the eliminate legacy systems initiative. So now we saw here left on the bottom, we have the application portfolio. If I look in the application, I would see that my SAP applications are part of this initiative. Then I can also see what projects are part of the initiative, and this will be the important question here, what demands are part of the initiatives, are already in execution. Those are the top two rows. Or what is my demand backlog here on the bottom? So the question that I raise now is, can I cover more demands? Can I do more for the strategy? And I get a really clear indication. If I look to my budget, to my forecast of what I'm probably going to spend until the end of the year, I see that I'm already 4% above my AOP. What I also see is that the demand backlog size is 38 people days or person days. Given that it's the 6th of December, I think it's rather unrealistic that we, first of all, get the money to implement the new demands, and that we have the capacities to sprint away this 38 person days. From a risk perspective, there's nothing. I think as an initiative owner, I'm not a project manager. I would only want to know if the risks are high or very high. And having a look into the projects, I see that 50% of the projects are only in time, which is for me another indication of not starting something new, not implementing more demands, but instead really take care that my projects come to an end. So in this case, I think just you understand the color code here in the project timeline. It's a lean HR project that's not doing well, so I might want to know where this comes from. So I drill down just into the projects. I check the status report. The report says significant capacity bottleneck. Team members are overbooked. Okay, so I know why this project is flagged red. Then I would of course have a look on my team's capacities here in the center, and also here it's just jumping into my eye. Thorsten Meyer seems to be overbooked, so let's give him some relief. I know that Thorsten Meyer is working here in the global infrastructure department, and he's overbooked by 55 person days until March of next year. So we will look for a colleague to help him out, ideally from the same department. We could also use check by activity type. Maybe we want to have a specific, a developer, a project manager, or whatever. To simplify here, we just look for somebody of his department, maybe with a free capacity of 60 days. And there we see that Linda could be of help. So we staff Linda on the project, and therefore we can reduce his work by, let's say, 60 days. Was 20 at the beginning, right? Okay, so we can see here very clearly that all those capacity conflicts are solved, no more red light, and yeah. So we helped our initiative to progress. Okay, so to sum up, what did I wanted to show you? I want to show you what activities in my initiative contribute to the strategy. In this case, of course, all the activities contribute to the strategy because it's an initiative. Then I want to see where am I with my budget, and I was already exceeding my budget, which was why I didn't have any maneuver to implement further demands, neither financial-wise or neither capacity-wise. And because I knew that 50% of the projects in the initiative were not in time, I intervened and I helped out with additional resources. Right. Last but not least, we will have a look on the CIO. And here we will have a focus really on the cost perspective. So we want to understand, are there any deviations from the AOP? If so, where do the deviations come from, and what potential savings could I find anywhere in my portfolio? So again, I change the view, and now we are in the finance dashboard. Right, which you can see here. I want to show it later to you, but we have a lot of ways to we have a lot of data in the background of this dashboard that we can display for if you have certain questions or if you want to find certain answers. For my scenario, I'm gonna simplify it. So just give me a second. Nice. Okay, now we have a way more clear and structured view. Okay, so back to the story. I am the CIO of this IT organization, and I can already see that by the end of the year, I probably be 2% above what I've initially planned. Whether this is a good value or a bad value, this is something that I would leave to you to judge. What's nice here is that I can directly get a feeling of where these deviations come from. So my initial AOP was at 43 million euros or 43.6. I will probably land at the end of the year at 44.3 million euros, which is a difference of roughly 700,000 euros. So what I do know is that 150,000 euros come for activities that haven't been foreseen at the end of last year. So I guess this is life how it is. We can have planned economies. Some urgent topics come out of the nowhere, and we need to be flexible enough to address them anyway. So 150,000 euros of the budget overrun come from unforeseen events. If I want to know where the rest comes from, I would just have a look here where I could just get a clear indication of where I outran the cost. But there are also some good news. The CIO managed to get some things done even in a cheaper way. So to understand whether my IT budget is healthy or my IT organization is healthy, I can have also a look on the cost composition. And this is now quite foreshadowing on next week, because you see those pillars, and it's exactly the direction where how we introduce rolling planning in organizations. So we would start with the services, what you call the run part, the keep the lights on part. We would start mapping all the costs for your internal resources and your external costs, here shown in green, just to understand of how many budget do you just need for the running part, because it's one of the major pitfalls that in the IP department people start discussing of what else can we do next year, how can we do our grow, our transform part, without respecting the budget and the resources needed just to run the business. Second pillar would be running projects. So we can see where we are just now working on. And we see here a really, really tiny part, almost not seeable, of remaining capacities, given that it's the 6th of December. It's sure why it's only just this tiny part, and it won't give us much more room to maneuver. If we add all of those costs, they will add up to our minimal IT budget, so the minimum budget that we would need to maintain our IT organization just as it is. This data is really live data, so if we want to see, for example, where is my SAP basic service here, I could see the cost of the service, just right here. Okay, so now to understand or to get an idea of where I could find room to save budget, I might want to look here into the costs. I'd see, okay, the biggest part of my cost is for internal spend, but then I can have a look to the supplier, Microsoft, Nego, Apple, SAP. A lot of my costs are unspecified, so I might want to talk to my direct reports to get clearer here. But of course, the main idea here would be to talk to your biggest supplier, renegotiate contracts, look if you can maybe do some purchasing elsewhere and save some costs. The other idea that I would suggest now is to do a benchmark with your peers. Therefore, we support different frameworks. In this case, it's the TBM framework, where you can just see, hey, if I benchmark myself, are there any cost blocks that look suspicious? All right, this is enough for this part. There's just one thing I want to highlight here. I showed you some dashboards, some data today, but the tricky part is not to get the information or to interpret the information. The tricky part is really at the end to use this information in a meaningful way, like to make sure everybody understands the IT, the contribution of the IT to the business value, to use it maybe to raise your IT budget, to use it to support the change or your leadership. And there's as many activities that need those kind of data, of up-to-date data, of live data, of reliable data, where you need those kind of information to just move on as a digital leader. Okay, and with this said, I hand over to Philip.
Thank you so much, Vincent, for this valuable presentation. And of course, thank you. Special thanks to Christoph for your introduction into your concepts.